NFL free agency begins on March 14th, so teams are about to start making moves to gear up for the 2024 NFL season. Every year, there are multiple free agents that have the ability to go to a new team and shock the league with their signing. A lot of the time, those players end up just staying on the same team, which is good for them, but kinda boring for NFL fans. We want action. We want to see teams making moves like it's Madden GM mode. In this video, I'm going to take a look at a few of the upcoming free agents and discuss a potential team they could sign to. I'll do my best to make realistic choices for these players regarding both fit and cap space, but when I see a team like the Saints that has negative $83 million in cap space, it kinda makes it look like the cap is more of a suggestion than the law. The first player I'm going to talk about is Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley to the Texans is a rumor that's been going around recently, but it looks like the rumor has no actual basis to it. Someone just said that Saquon to the Texans is something that could happen, and the internet ran with it. Something being made out of nothing isn't anything new, but this so-called rumor is something that would be a lot of fun to watch, and it makes sense. CJ Stroud solidified himself as an elite quarterback this past season as a rookie. The Texans now have another 3 years of Stroud on a rookie contract to make some big signings before they have to sign him to a huge contract. Making a move for an elite running back is a great idea in my opinion. Barkley is without a doubt one of the top running backs in the entire NFL, but the importance of the running back position dwindles each year. Teams are hesitant to sign running backs to big contracts that they deserve because they're seen as replaceable compared to other positions like quarterback. But we just saw CMC, the highest paid running back in the league, in the Super Bowl, so this idea of signing running backs to big money being a losing move is clearly wrong. The 49ers were able to have CMC on their roster with the highest paid contract because they had the benefit of the most important position, the quarterback, being a player on a rookie contract. The Texans are in that same spot right now. If they signed Barkley to a contract that expires before CJ Stroud's rookie deal is up, the Texans would have an offense of Stroud, Barkley, Nico Collins, and Tank Dell. That's a deadly offense. The Texans had Devin Singletary as their starting running back last season, and he put up a respectable 1,091 scrimmage yards. Teams weren't focused on the run game when Singletary was on the field though. They had to worry about CJ Stroud slinging that ball downfield to Collins. Compare that to Barkley, who had 1,242 scrimmage yards while being the only offensive threat the Giants had. Tommy DeVito was fun for a couple weeks, but teams really weren't worried about Tommy Cutlets in the slightest. Defenses were game planned on stopping Barkley, and if he's on the Texans, that won't be able to happen. T. Higgins is the biggest potential free agent wide receiver, and I know the word going around is that the Bengals are going to franchise tag Higgins and have him play out the season, but we're trying to have some fun and dream here, so let's just let loose for a minute. I have my reasons for dropping Higgins. The Bengals are going into the offseason with the 4th most cap space in the league, so re-signing T. Higgins wouldn't be a problem this offseason. The problem would come next offseason when Jamar Chase is due for a very big payday. Jamar could potentially sign the biggest wide receiver contract in NFL history next offseason, but doing that and also having T. Higgins on a big contract would be an awful move for the Bengals. That would be Burrow, Higgins, and Chase all on massive contracts. I think the Bengals should be looking at the Chiefs as a way to construct their offense. They dropped Tyreek Hill and they won back-to-back Super Bowls. Mahomes had Kelsey as the number 1 guy, and the rest of the offense just had to step up to fill Hill's place. The same thing should be happening in Cincinnati. Let Burrow keep Chase as the number 1 guy, and then the rest of the offense needs to step up. I think that T. Higgins to the Patriots is something that we could see and would cause a big change in the AFC East. The Pats had the worst offense in the NFL last season, and their wide receiver group was probably the worst in the league as well. Bringing in a number 1 guy like T. Higgins would be a massive improvement. The Patriots are more than likely going to take a new QB with the 3rd overall pick in the draft, and whoever that player is, they're set up to fail if they're put on the field with Kendrick Bourne as the go-to option. No offense to Kendrick Bourne. If the Patriots slightly improve their offense, they're going to be able to compete for a playoff spot. They lost 8 one-possession games last season with the worst offense in the league. There was one point when they had 3 games in a row last season where their defense let up 10 points or less. The Patriots lost all 3 games. That defense is a Super Bowl winning defense. I think the biggest reason the Pats should make this move, though, is that it's a sign of a new era. For over 2 decades with Belichick as coach, he prioritized having the right players, not just the best players. A free agent wide receiver getting a huge contract from the Patriots would never happen under Belichick. I think bringing in T. Higgins would be a new way to show the rest of the league that things are going to be different in New England. If the Bengals do move on from Higgins, I think a great place to spend that money would be on Chris Jones from the Chiefs. Last offseason, the Bengals signed former Chiefs offensive tackle Orlando Brown to a big contract, so they clearly like what they see from their conference rivals players. Jones held out from playing at the beginning of this past season because he wanted to get a large contract extension from the Chiefs. He didn't get it, and it doesn't seem like the Chiefs are going to be able to give him that this offseason. The Bengals defense could use the help. The Bengals allowed the 5th most passing yards per game, but they allowed the 9th least pass attempts per game. Quarterbacks had way too much time in the pocket when playing against the Bengals, so they were able to be patient and make those longer passing plays. The Bengals allowed 11.6 yards per completion to their opponents, dead last in the league. Bringing in Chris Jones would be a huge help in putting pressure on the opponent's quarterbacks. In the Super Bowl, this man had a team-high 6 quarterback pressures, 3 of them in under 2.5 seconds, and he pressured Purdy on the 49ers' overtime drive, causing an incompletion, forcing the 49ers to kick a field goal, which ended up leading to the Chiefs' win. Championship teams need a guy who can make the game-changing play on defense, and Chris Jones is one of those guys, and the Bengals have championship aspirations. Before I get to the next player, I just want to say if you liked the video, I'd appreciate if you could click that subscribe button and leave a like on the video. I'm on the quest to 1,000 subscribers, so every new subscriber helps. Derrick Henry is one of the more interesting free agents this offseason. Under normal circumstances, teams aren't going to be lining up to bring in a 30-year-old running back. By 30 years old, most running backs are done in the league. But Derrick Henry just ran for over 1,100 yards last season. This man isn't normal. The Titans look ready to start their rebuild, so Henry at age 30 is likely going to go sign with a contender. And I think the Dallas Cowboys should be looking to bring in Derrick Henry. And I know, I just said he's going to look to go to a contender, and then I said the Dallas Cowboys. Let's all laugh at the Cowbums. Haha, they can't win in the playoffs. The Cowboys roster is a championship roster. But when your offense is solely Dak Prescott passing to CeeDee Lamb, you aren't going to win when that doesn't work. Last offseason, the Cowboys let go of Ezekiel Elliott, and Tony Pollard was set to be the lead guy for this team. As the lead running back, Pollard had worse stats in every category than the year before. He had less rushing yards on 60 more attempts, he had less receiving yards on 16 more receptions, and he had 6 less touchdowns. Pollard is clearly not cut out to be the lead back, but he is an elite receiving back and third down option. Derrick Henry is the best pure runner in the NFL this past decade, and he's exactly the type of player the Cowboys need to help their offense not be as one-dimensional as it was in 2023. Here's where that whole salary cap thing becomes a problem though. From what I found online, the Cowboys are going into the 2024 offseason with negative $14 million in cap space, and I don't think Derrick Henry has any intention of becoming a volunteer running back. The Cowboys need to unload some players, but it'll 100% be worth it if they can bring in King Henry. There are a lot of other great free agents we could talk about, but I think most of them will end up re-signing with their current team, and I think that's also the best option for them. The Vikings aren't going to get any better than Kirk Cousins at quarterback, so unless they plan on wasting the talent of another all-time great receiver, they're going to be bringing Kirk back. The Buccaneers are the best team in their division, and they have a chance to run the weak NFC South for years, so bringing back Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans is a must. The Colts have a chance at the playoffs with a healthy Anthony Richardson, so keeping Michael Pittman to be a number 1 option for him is likely a top priority. Josh Allen, the defender, not the quarterback, is probably the best player on the Jaguars. That defense can't afford to lose him. Along with all those players I just mentioned, there are dozens of other big-name free agents that could either re-sign with their team or join another squad. I can see these guys going anywhere. That's the fun of the offseason. You never really know what's going to happen. Free agency officially begins on March 14th, so until then, we're just going to have to wait and see.